I'm Corporal Christiana Halsey. This week on Navy Marine Corps News, a grateful nation remembers the 50th anniversary of victory in Europe. Family housing is changing, and we'll show you how the military is making it better. And it's time to spin the wheel of fortune that is, and they're aboard USS Dwight D. Eisenhower to do it. Join me and Chief Petty Officer Herb Josie for these stories and more on Navy Marine Corps News. This week on Navy Marine Corps News, a grateful nation remembers the 50th anniversary of victory in Europe. Family housing is changing, and we'll show you how the military is making it better. And it's time to spin the wheel of fortune that is, and they're aboard USS Dwight D. Eisenhower to do it. Stay tuned for these stories and more next on Navy Marine Corps News. Welcome to Navy Marine Corps News. I'm Corporal Christiana Halsey.
And I'm Chief Petty Officer Herb Josie. On May 8th, people around the world stopped to celebrate and remember one of the most significant days of World War II, VE Day, the American and Allied victory in Europe.
But as in previous World War II commemoration ceremonies, it wasn't the battles and hard-fought victories that people came to honor. It was the service, dedication, and courage of the war's veterans.
In their bravery, and that of all their brothers and sisters in arms, America found the will to defeat the forces of fascism. And today, we, the sons and daughters of their sacrifice, say thank you and well done.
Sailors and Marines around the world also helped commemorate the anniversary of VE Day. For the first time in more than 3 decades, a United States Navy ship visited Northern Ireland.
A lot of our crew members they're very proud to be part of the military, and whenever you can intermix with veterans who've served in the war, you get to hear some good stories, and there's still that military camaraderie.
The crew of USS Aubrey Fitch hosted U.S. veterans and family members who returned to their former bases in Northern Ireland. Sailors spent the day showing off their ship and discussing the events of 50 years ago.
Well, all these old shipmates, they all got their own stories to tell of what they did and when, and we talk about it, and we really enjoy it. I like history, and this is history at its best.
I want to show them the results of what they did. When they walk around the ship, they're going to see the technology, and they're going to see some very squared-away sailors, and it's because of what they did.
After touring the ship, veterans and sailors went ashore to see the country.
I personally feel it's a great opportunity for our Aubrey Fitch to show the flag. We've sailed many different areas, and we hardly ever get a chance to sail to Northern Europe. We feel this is an excellent opportunity to show the flag, like I said, for the Aubrey Fitch and the United States.
Now, since World War II, the quality of life for military service members has improved steadily. Unfortunately, one area that hasn't quite kept pace is family housing. But that's changing.
Recognizing the need for immediate and substantial improvements, Secretary of Defense William Perry has proposed a new program designed to increase both the quantity and quality of military housing for all service members.
Let me tell you that the military housing we have today is in terrible shape. I know this from my own eyes and ears, from visiting the bases all over the country, indeed all over the world.
In the military, there are 350,000 on-base family housing units, and almost 2/3 of those are considered substandard. But the military is doing something about it, and these houses are being replaced by this. That's why the bulk of the $2.7 billion added to the budget late last year for quality of life is earmarked for housing. But still, this addition to current funding won't completely fix the housing problem for at least 30 years. The Secretary wants the problem fixed in less than 10 years. He's looking to the private sector to get it done.
Indeed, many colleges and universities already tap private capital markets to finance dormitories. We want to do the same thing. So we have been working with the Congress to devise a plan that will allow us to meet our housing needs by attracting private capital.
Basically, the proposal is to entice private companies to spend their own money to build, renovate, maintain, and manage on and off-base housing for military families. The military would then lease the facilities or guarantee rental payments.
The issues that we're raising as part of this legislation is, do we have to own all of that housing? Do we have to operate all that housing? Can we, in fact, use private sector expertise and private sector capital to refurbish it and manage it?
And the military believes that answer is yes. The plan allows the Department of Defense to negotiate and use the best tools suited to specific areas and their different housing problems. This will get quality, affordable housing built the fastest. The legislation, which is expected to be approved by Congress, calls for a test period of not more than 5 years. Officials say it shouldn't last that long, and they expect the program to be fully implemented much sooner. In the meantime, the Department of the Navy is continuing to press on with housing improvements for sailors and Marines. The Navy's top leadership recently attended a groundbreaking ceremony at Bellevue in Washington, D.C., where 188 new family units will be built.
It's an indication of our commitment. You're going to continue to see this sort of thing happening. We did it in Hawaii a few weeks ago. We're doing it here. Our goal is to do it throughout the Department of the Navy.
In Summerfield, Maryland, for instance, they recently finished a joint housing project with the Air Force.
Who's that?
That's a mama.
Who's that?
Daddy.
Tammy Armstrong and her family live there, and she compares this new housing to previous housing her family has lived in.
The landscaping is a lot better, and the inside you have more square footage of living space. And for instance, in some of the other ones we didn't have dishwashers and garbage disposals, and here we do. These things that are offered out in town that we wanted. And also, we've had so many people drive through and ask us, are they for sale? Are they for sale? And no, they're military housing, you know.
Good housing helps deployed sailors worry less about their families.
It does affect you. I mean, if I know my family's happy at home, we're comfortable, and everything's taken care of, it's better off that way. I can concentrate on getting my job done.
I firmly believe that providing people with quality housing is a critical factor in retention, and retention is tied directly to readiness. In my mind, quality of life, therefore, is not on the periphery of the readiness issue. Quality of life is at the heart of readiness.
For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer Bill Miles.
And Chris, sailors and Marines are really excited by some of these housing initiatives that the Navy and Marine Corps are putting out there.
Well, when I moved into housing, it was a great surprise because I had 2 storage areas. They're really nice houses that they're coming out with.
Pool?
Not that, not quite yet.
Maybe not yet, no.
Well, when we come back, we'll take a look at the increased opportunities for women now serving in the Navy.
And your uniform. You wear it every day. We wear it every day. We'll show you what the Navy is doing to make sure it's up to standards before you put it on.
Stay with us.
During the 50th anniversary of World War II, we pause to remember and honor these uncommon patriots. I'm Charlton Heston. A grateful nation remembers.
Welcome back. In the past few years, women in the Navy and Marine Corps have seen a new world of opportunity opening up for them.
That's right. Since the repeal of the combat exclusion law, women are now serving throughout the fleet.
Aircraft carriers, destroyers, dock landing ships, combat squadrons, and CB construction battalions are just a few of the places women are now assigned.
So with women more integrated into the Navy than ever before, we thought it was an appropriate time to get a read on just how it's going and what sailors in the fleet think about it. For so long, they had dreamed and hoped for the chance to fly an FA-18 off the deck of an aircraft carrier into combat, dreamed of conning the newest high-tech destroyer, hoped to show what they could do. Now, for more and more women in the Navy and Marine Corps, those hopes and dreams are becoming reality.
It's still hard to believe, you know, you have to pinch yourself sometimes walking up the pier and you see gorgeous, beautiful combatant destroyer, and it's my home.
Lieutenant Saudi Bose is excited because she always wanted to be assigned to a destroyer. Not just any destroyer, but the newest and the best.
I had a department head, and I'd always joke by putting a, #1 sailor ready for an Arleigh Burke class destroyer on my fitness report, and he'd always laugh and circle and say, someday, someday. And well, to Lieutenant Tony Smith, I actually finally made it, and here I am.
For women like her throughout the Navy and Marine Corps, A whole new world has opened up since the repeal of the Combat Exclusion Law in 1993, the law that stopped women from serving in combat units. Now, female officers can serve in 92% of officer communities in the Navy. Enlisted serve in 92 of 95 ratings. That means more opportunities to go to sea.
My hope when I became the CNO was that I would be able to continue the program started by Admiral Kelso and by the Secretary of the Navy to have a smooth integration. And as we did that it would become less and less of a event that we would talk about and more a routine way to do business. That's exactly what's happening.
I think most guys are already recognizing that, and they don't look at us so much as just another female in the way. They look at us as a counterpart.
Some of the younger guys are a little bit uncomfortable with that. Not necessarily uncomfortable, but they feel dominated. They feel like you're dominating them. But you know, you work with them, they work with you. It all works out. Y'all get together and become a team and get the job done.
I think over a period of time, it had to come down to something like this. Should have came down to something like this a long time ago, as far as actually putting them in combat.
In 1995, more than 1,200 women have been assigned to combat ships and air wings.
I think it's going great. And for those ships out there that don't have women, I hope they do get them because they'll realize that it's not a problem.
Change at the fleet end of the pipeline meant things also had to change at the beginning in recruit training. Now, men and women are in the same recruit companies, learning from the start of their careers how men and women can and must work together. Even with all the historic changes, though, sailors in the fleet are hoping the day will come soon when women aboard ships and in combat squadrons will no longer be news.
I was on a ship not long ago, not too far from Iraq, doing a real job in the Persian Gulf, and there were women on board. And I was about to ask, how's this program going? When one of the women stopped me almost in mid-sentence and said, Admiral, could we just talk about the job we're doing? That's a lot more important. We're just part of this crew. And so I went around the ship and I looked and I watched, and we had a lot of sailors on there. Some of them were women, some of them were men. They were dealing with the issues you have to deal with, and they were getting on with life. That's what our Navy's doing too.
And we can see a lot's going on in the Navy as far as creating opportunity for women. What's happening in the Marine Corps?
Well, right now, 60% of the jobs in the Marine Corps have opened up to women, and that includes aviation and logistic billets, which means that more women will deploy.
That's good news for them. Now, if you've ever been deployed, you know only too well how those overseas phone bills can quickly kind of get away from you.
But as Petty Officer J.C. Morgan explains, the Navy Exchange and your ship's store have come up with something that can help you keep those phone bills down and still let you talk to your family and friends back home.
Fumbling for change is now a thing of the past. The Navy Exchange recently introduced a phone debit card, making calls home to mom and dad less of a hassle.
A sailor can use it overseas. They can make calls from overseas back to the continental United States or vice versa. It's a very convenient thing to have. You don't have to worry about foreign currency to use in payphones overseas.
The cards work like other phone debit accounts, but sailors avoid large bills at the end of the month by purchasing the cards ahead of time. Minutes are then subtracted each time you make a call.
You could never estimate how much money you were going to spend on phone calls. If I knew going out that I had a preset limit, and I could replenish it when I came home, that would probably help me stay within my budget.
Rates offered with the Navy Exchange card are much better than those of commercial companies or call and collect. And your Navy Exchange isn't the only place you can benefit from this deal.
Here in the ship store aboard the USS Wasp, you can get everything from crackers to cookies to CDs. And now you can get your very own phone card.
The ship's card has been outstanding. Since we started the phone program in May of last year, Navy-wide, we sold over $1 million worth of phone cards to sailors, and we've provided over $100,000 to ship's welfare and recreation funds because of it.
The ship store card and Navy Exchange card offer comparable rates while making life easier for the deployed sailor.
It's just very convenient, especially if you have the cash, you can just go ahead and purchase, and it's a one-shot deal.
Right. I know. Oh, Dad, can you hold on for just a second? Thanks. Mom and Dad won't mind you calling home now and again, especially since you won't be calling collect anymore. And you'll be saving money too, thanks to your new card. So now, there is no excuse. Call home. For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer J.C. Morgan, Norfolk.
So saving you books and all that on the ships. Now here's what the cards look like. Got the little designs here, little ship and everything else. You can pick them up at your Navy Exchange or your ship's store.
Well, they do look pretty nice. I hope you got one and called your mom for Mother's Day.
No, Mom, I haven't called yet, but hi. The Navy Exchange Service is working hard to provide you with another quality product that will give you your money's worth, uniforms. But how do they guarantee that they're safe?
Petty Officer Brian Wood gives you an inside look at just what your uniform has to go through before it's considered qualified for today's fleet sailor.
Material has been processed, purchased, patterns and prototypes drawn, cut, and assembled, and it's now ready to wear in the fleet. But wait a minute. How do you know that the uniform you're wearing can withstand the rigors of life at sea? That's the job of environmental scientists and clothing design experts at the Navy Clothing and Textile Research Facility in Natick, Massachusetts. There, engineers ensure uniform apparel meets wearability and safety specifications through a series of tests involving simulation of shipboard laundry machines, spray testing for durability of the material, using mace balls to check for snagging, and on top of all that, subject material to fire.
This is mainly so that if the person that's wearing this garment is caught into an emergency situation where he has to escape from a compartment that is on flames, or he has to go through a walkway to escape to another compartment where there's no flames or smoke, it'll give him enough of protection to pass through that area to seek safety.
In addition to these tests, environmental chambers are used for the testing of organizational clothing such as gloves, boots, and outerwear. These chambers simulate hot and cold weather conditions by using prototypes of the hand and foot.
We measure the insulation properties of the handwear and footwear that are issued to the sailors so that we can certify the operating environment that they'll be protected to.
In most instances, researchers use mannequins for their experiments, but nothing takes the place of a human being.
This particular image is an infrared image. The white and red are warmer regions, and the blue is middle range, and then purple is the cooler regions. For instance, if you're designing a cold weather jacket, you would see regions perhaps around the neck or a zipper where heat would come out.
Another test they conduct at this facility is the water immersion test for life vests and anti-exposure suits. It just goes to show, once again, to what great lengths and depths the Navy will go to ensure the survivability of our sailors. Reporting for Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer Brian Wood in the tank in Natick, Massachusetts.
That Brian Wood, I tell you, he'll do anything for research, but it's really good to see that they put those uniforms through those paces to make sure that they're safe for sailors out there.
And next week, we'll take you to the Uniform Support Center in Norfolk. They've got the answer to all your uniform questions.
Yes, they do. When we come back, have you ever wondered what it takes to spin the Wheel of Fortune? We'll let you know.
And MTV takes on the Marine Corps. Find out who comes out on top.
Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Vanna White from Wheel of Fortune. Navy Marine Corps News will be right back.
To compete, you've got to be strong. To win, you've got to be smart. Maybe you can be one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back. America's favorite game show, seen in the homes of millions of fans every night, has come to the fleet.
It's called what? Oh, sorry. It's Wheel of Fortune, and Petty Officer Dave Smith went aboard the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower to give us a behind-the-scenes look at the setup, the stars, even Vanna, and some little-known trivia.
Yo, it's about that time to break forth the rhythm and the rhyme. I'ma get mine, so get yours. I wanna see sweat coming out your pores. On the house, tip the sound swing.
A total of 280,000 pounds of set, scenery, electric, and electronic equipment was craned aboard Ike. So many lights were set up in the hangar bay that, when turned on, lighting in the hangar bay matched the sunshine coming in through the hangar bay doors.
This is the most unique venue that we've ever had for Wheel of Fortune, by far. In general, we usually use arenas and theaters and that type of thing to do the show. And to put it on a Navy ship is pretty incredible.
They did a good job turning the hangar bay into a soundstage. I didn't think it could be done. Not like this.
Okay, Scott, reach down there and give it a spin.
Once everything was in place, the contestants had plenty of opportunity to practice spinning the wheel, while the hosts of the show made themselves available to the press. And it turns out that Pat Sajak did some time in the military himself.
Yeah, I like to refer to it as having served rather than done some time. You know, it all depends on how you look at it, Dave. How's your experience been?
Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Nah. You just wanted applause from the ship, that's all. Yeah, I did some time. Got me out for good behavior. No, I served actually in the Army from 68 through 70 for 3 years back then, and spent a year and a half in Vietnam and worked for Armed Forces Radio for much of that time. And it was good duty.
But this is Pat's first time aboard an aircraft carrier. It's also the first time any television game show has been taped aboard a carrier. And it's Vanna's first time aboard a carrier, too. But a little research produced an unusual discovery. Vanna White is in the Guinness Book of World Records. And no, it's not for turning the most letters.
For clapping the most times.
How many times have you clapped?
Oh, thousands. Thousands and thousands.
Averaging 720 claps per show, Vanna White puts her hands together more than 28,000 times per season. She may also hold the record for wearing the greatest amount of apparel on television. As the show enters its 12th season, she has worn 5,500 outfits. So much for trivia. The contestants are anxious to get on with the games, and the citizens of Norfolk are waiting to see the show.
We've got lights, we've got cameras, and we've got a crowd. All we need now is Pat and Vanna.
But you can see the results of the games next week, and I'll be back with a report from the contestants' point of view. Aboard the aircraft carrier Dwight D. Eisenhower, I'm Petty Officer Dave Smith.
Great opportunity for folks not only to play on Wheel of Fortune, but to win money and all that stuff, and see Pat and Vanna.
I like Vanna. I think I'm going to catch up to her one day here soon.
You got to clap all the way through the rest of the show, plus some.
Earth Day comes around once a year, but this year was special. It was the 25th anniversary of Earth Day, and what started as a local event just 25 years ago has now turned into a gathering of action-minded people around the globe.
And as usual, sailors and Marines turned out to do their part at bases and communities around the fleet. Petty Officer Mark Kane reports.
Just look around and find all kinds of trash.
It might not look like much fun, but Marines stationed at Pearl Harbor volunteered to help give Mother Nature a facelift by picking up trash around the island.
If we don't do it, it's going to lay here if nobody else does it. Somebody's got to do it. I'll volunteer. A lot of people are coming and showing up and volunteering. It's good. It's just got to be done. It's got to be done.
While Marines cleaned up the land, Navy divers took to the sea.
It's God's country, and I want to help clean it up. It's just gotten a little nasty, and I want my kids to have someplace nice to live. I don't want them going up in the trash heap.
On the other side of the globe, sailors in Suda Bay Creek did their part in the Navy-wide Earth Day cleanup.
We pick up paper and everything, and they realize that, we really do appreciate being here, and it's a good learning experience for us. And we get to help them out, so maybe they help us out when we need something.
But the story didn't stop in Crete. 400 miles away, sailors in Sigonella, Sicily made their way down trash-cluttered roads, helping to make their adopted community clean.
I think there's more of a sense of a course of environmental awareness, especially in the last 5 years or so. This is really coming to the forefront of what we're doing in the Navy, that we are involved in the communities that we live in. I think that's something that we've always done.
Back in the States, the Navy got directly involved with its community at Naval Amphibious Base Little Creek. Area children were invited to learn how valuable our environment is and why it's so important to preserve it for future generations.
I think the biggest benefit will be education. If they start to learn now, they can take away from this how they can help the environment throughout their life.
And if the Navy can accomplish that, the whole world could very well remain a beautiful place to live in. For Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer Mark Kane.
Imagine this. You're stuck with 5 people in a Winnebago. You're forced to travel around the country, and you're never quite sure of what your next destination will be. Sound like a nightmare?
Well, it's actually MTV's newest show, Road Rules. The show takes 5 courageous souls from place to place, searching for their next clue that might lead them home. And one of their clues recently led them to Officer Candidate School at Marine Corps Base Quantico, Virginia. No one gets into Officer Candidate School without their initial issue, including MTV.
It shouldn't be real tight, so it should not chafe around your waist, but you do want it to put a little bit of the weight on your hips there.
After gearing up in the appropriate Marine Corps attire, it was time to hit the field. They headed straight for the Leadership Reactionary course and were given 2 different chances to work as a team. Now, they had to make it across the water moat using any means possible, but they couldn't touch a danger area or fall in.
You might as well stand. It's like right there. Is it really? No. Mark, get me out.
Well, there goes their first chance. They still have one more opportunity.
You're out for a minute.
Well, maybe not.
They really didn't have that much coordination on the last one. A couple of them fell in, but they get the basic idea of what it's like to work together and stuff.
Actually, I was thinking how funny it looked, you know. They look pretty funny at it, but I gotta give them credit for it, you know. They did all right for, you know, not no scenarios or anything like that. They did a pretty good job at it, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty funny.
Even though the Leadership Reactionary course didn't quite work out, the Marines wanted to give them another chance, this time at the obstacle course.
There you go. Take your time. And just walk down. Walk on down.
I'm walking.
Hands out to the side. Hands out to the side. You're doing fine. There you go. Look forward. Don't look down.
Oh my God.
Right here. Now rotate yourself over. Push down on the. Whoa. I got it.
So why would MTV come to Quantico anyway?
It's just to get them to do different things that normally they would never get to do. And so the viewers watching the show will get to see and kind of experience the same type of things that most people don't get to see.
Too bad you can't smell what's on television, because once they finished the obstacle course, it was off to a gourmet lunch of meals ready to eat.
What's that?
Grape jelly or crackers. I break it up so just eat it like that.
But before they could even digest their lunch, they had to swallow their fears and overcome the Tarzan course.
I'm stuck in it! Oh, God!
Put both hands on the rope and pull yourself down.
One very interesting thing for us to watch is that the purpose of the show is to put them together and put them under stress and see if they form teamworks or alliances. And they haven't really done anything quite like this. It's the first time they've actually ganged into teamwork, and they are really supporting each other much better than we thought they would.
There you go, amazing. Outstanding. You go down to you go down to 3 came up.
Looks like they had a lot of fun down there. Did they ever manage to get over that wall?
No, but there was one thing that they did manage, and that was to work as a team. And it was really nice that the Marines were able to help them out, but it was pretty funny watching them.
Okay, so they did get to learn some of the Marines' leadership skills and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Well, that's our show for this week. I'm Herb Josie.
And I'm Christiana Halsey. In the next few weeks, we'll take you down to Pensacola, Florida to see just what it takes to be designated one of the Navy's rescue swimmers.
And we'll go under the sea with the Naval Research Submarine, the NR-1, off the coast of North Carolina to explore the ocean depths.
We'll hope you'll join us for those stories and more. And we'd like to thank those of you who have called or emailed our feedback line with your comments and suggestions. Please keep them coming.
And here's a note from All Hands Magazine. You may have heard about their Any Day in the Navy photo contest. Well, on May 18th, get out and take some pictures of the folks at your command. Send them in to All Hands by June 19th. Also, don't forget to include the names of the people in the photograph. If you'd like more information, see your public affairs officer or call this number.
We'll leave you this week by returning to Quantico, Virginia with the crew of MTV, shot by Petty Officer Freddie Rodrigue. Have a great week.